The galaxy always held its breath during pairing season. Every 50 cycles, the Korvathi Alliance chose partners from different species to form powerful cooperative teams. These teams worked together for a full year, solving disputes, creating new trade routes, and strengthening peace across distant star systems. It was a tradition older than most civilizations, and many believed it held the galaxy together. This year, something unusual happened. Lieutenant Aiden Reyes, a human from Earth's exploration fleet, was sitting in a small briefing room on the research vessel Horizon Runner. He thought he would listen to a normal announcement from command, maybe a new supply mission or a routine assignment. Instead, the holographic screen showed the crest of the Korvathi Alliance, glowing gold and violet. Everyone in the room went silent. When the Korvathi crest appeared, it usually meant something big. The message began with the deep, resonant voice of the High Speaker of the Alliance. This cycle, after careful consideration, we have selected our human partner for pairing season. We ask for full cooperation from the Terran exploration fleet. Aiden leaned back in his chair, confused but curious. Pairing season was legendary. Stories said it could turn unknown individuals into celebrated galaxy-wide figures. But humans were rarely chosen. Many alien species saw humans as too unpredictable. Then the message continued. The selected human is Lieutenant Aiden Reyes. The room exploded with reactions. Aiden's friend Malik whispered, "Bro, you? Are they serious?" Someone else muttered, "Humans barely get invited to the ceremony, let alone chosen." Aiden felt his stomach twist. Being chosen was an honor, but it also meant responsibility and pressure. The Korvathi did not choose lightly, and he had no idea why they chose him. Before Aiden could process anything, another hologram appeared, this one showing a tall, blue-skinned alien with dark silver eyes and a long set of folded crests on her head. She wore ceremonial armor decorated with smooth, curved lines. She spoke calmly. "Greetings. I am Scholar Tactician Veshka of the Korvathi. I will be responsible for preparing the chosen human for the pairing season assembly." Malik nudged Aiden. "Dude, she's your trainer? Handler? Space mentor?" Aiden whispered back. "I have no clue." Veshka continued. "Lieutenant Reyes, you are requested to report aboard the Korvathi flagship Solari Zenith within 1 galactic day. Bring no more than 2 personal items. All other needs will be provided." The message ended. The room stayed silent until Aiden finally muttered, "Well, that happened." Aiden's journey to the Solari Zenith was both exciting and unsettling. He rode a small shuttle through a tunnel of starlight, watching as the enormous Korvathi flagship grew larger and larger. It looked like a shining crescent, smooth and elegant, almost like a floating piece of art instead of a warship. When the shuttle docked, the airlock opened with a soft hiss. Aiden stepped onto the ship, holding his small duffel bag. The halls glowed with faint blue light, and the air carried a metallic but clean scent. Veshka was waiting for him. She stood perfectly straight, hands clasped behind her back. Up close, she looked even more impressive. Tall, calm, and completely unreadable. "Lieutenant Reyes," she said with a slight bow of her head. "Welcome to the Solari Zenith." Aiden tried to bow back but ended up doing a weird half-salute. "Thanks. Happy to be here." Veshka blinked slowly. "Your greeting style is unusual." "Yeah, humans are like that. Kinda mixed signals everywhere." "Indeed," she answered, though it was unclear if she meant it politely or truthfully. She guided him through the ship. Other Korvathi crew members watched him with curiosity. Some looked impressed, others doubtful. Aiden heard a pair of them whisper, "That is the chosen human? He looks smaller than expected." Aiden pretended not to hear. Veshka led him into a circular chamber filled with soft blue light. Symbols floated in the air like holographic runes. In the center stood a large, round platform. "This is the orientation sphere," she explained. "To participate in pairing season, you must understand the traditions and expectations. Your training begins here." Aiden nodded slowly. "Okay, what happens first?" "You learn the purpose of your selection." She touched the platform, and the room transformed. Stars and planets swirled overhead, forming a glowing map of the galaxy. For thousands of cycles, the Korvathi have promoted cooperation. Pairing season creates teams that combine the strengths of two cultures: strategy, diplomacy, exploration. Each partnership shapes the future. Aiden watched in fascination as glowing figures showed past partners navigating challenges, forming alliances, or solving crises. Then Veshka continued, her voice more serious. "You were selected not only for your rank. Humans have demonstrated creativity under pressure. You adapt quickly. Some would call you unpredictable. But to the Korvathi, this quality can bring new solutions." Aiden blinked. "So, basically, you picked me because humans are weird?" Veshka paused. "If weird means capable of unconventional thinking, then yes." Aiden tried not to laugh. "Fair enough." Veshka looked at him closely. "I must prepare you for the ceremony, the trials, and the expectations of the entire alliance. This task will not be simple. Redder the task in half. Redder the task in listing." "Good," Aiden said with a small grin. Veshka tilted her head, studying him as though he were a puzzle. "Your confidence is notable. Thanks, I think." She turned away. "Follow me. We begin with cultural protocol." Aiden groaned playfully. "Protocol? Oh boy." Over the next hours, Veshka introduced him to the basics. Greeting forms, common misunderstandings between species, forbidden gestures, and core rituals of pairing season. Aiden tried hard, but he messed up constantly mixing gestures, confusing symbols, or accidentally activating holograms he wasn't supposed to touch. At one point, he even triggered an emergency alarm. Veshka stared at him. "How did you push the wrong symbol? It is shaped like a warning spike." "It looked like a triangle," Aiden said helplessly. "That is the universal shape of danger." "Well, triangles aren't dangerous on Earth." Veshka sighed, a long, tired exhale that sounded almost human. Despite the chaos, something else happened. She noticed that Aiden learned fast. He didn't memorize things perfectly, but he understood concepts quickly and improvised clever solutions whenever he made mistakes. For the first time, Veshka began to wonder if perhaps the High Council had seen something in him she had not. And Aiden, standing in the center of the glowing orientation sphere, wondered what challenges awaited him and why, out of all humans in the galaxy, he had been chosen. Pairing season had begun. The next morning, on the Solari zenith, Aiden woke to a soft chime that echoed through his room. The lights brightened slowly, imitating a sunrise. He stretched and groaned. "Already? I barely slept." But Veshka was waiting outside his door the moment it opened. "Good morning, Lieutenant Reyes," she said calmly. Aiden rubbed his eyes. "Do Korvathi ever sleep in?" "We do not waste time," she answered simply. Aiden muttered, "Figures." Veshka led him through a series of smooth, metallic corridors until they reached a chamber that looked like a training arena. The walls were made of shifting holograms, and the floor felt almost alive under his boots. "This," Veshka announced, "is the Adaptive Simulation Hall. It adjusts challenges in real time. You must learn to handle unpredictable situations." Aiden raised an eyebrow. "So, alien video game?" Veshka blinked at him. "A simulation of complex scenarios designed to test your decision-making." "Right. Alien video game." Her crest twitched in mild annoyance. Please take this seriously. I will. Promise. The first simulation. Diplomatic chaos. Veshka tapped a control panel, and the room shifted. Suddenly, Aiden stood in a circular hall filled with holographic representatives of different species. Some were tall and thin, others short and round, and some looked like walking crystals. A loud voice announced, "Simulation, interspecies disagreement." The holograms began shouting in their own languages. Aiden looked around nervously. "Aiden, what do I do?" he asked. "Use what you learned yesterday," Veshka said, standing safely outside the simulation. "Right. Aiden stepped forward. "Everyone, please calm." A tentacled alien snapped at him in a sharp voice. Another started waving its arms angrily. A third began glowing bright red, which Aiden remembered was a sign of emotional distress. He panicked slightly. Then he did what humans did best. He improvised. Aiden clapped loudly. "Hey! Everybody freeze!" Shock stopped half the holograms. They stared at him. "Let's try something simple," Aiden said. "One problem at a time." Who started the argument? All the holograms pointed at each other. "Okay. Different question. Who actually wants a solution?" A few hands and appendages lifted. Aiden took a deep breath and began separating them, hosting two small groups, guiding the conversation like he was dealing with children in a playground. Somehow, his calm voice and simple system worked. The chaotic crowd gradually quieted. In the end, the simulation faded, and the room returned to normal. Aiden looked at Veshka. "So, how'd I do?" Veshka stared at him with a stunned expression. "That was not the method I taught you." "Yeah, but did it work?" "Yes." Aiden smiled. "Then we're good." Veshka looked thoughtful. "Your approach was unorthodox, yet the results are acceptable." We continue. The second simulation, Logic Trap. The next simulation created a giant puzzle chamber with floating platforms, glowing runes, and shifting obstacles. The voice announced, "Simulation, Logic Trial of Alduran." Veshka explained, "This test measures your ability to follow specific sequences of actions. You must not deviate from the pattern. This, test. This, test. This, test. This, test." Aiden nodded. "Got it. Follow the pattern." He stepped onto the first platform. It glowed green. He stepped to the next, it glowed blue. "And now yellow," Veshka instructed. Then red. Aiden hopped to the yellow platform. Then hesitated. The red platform suddenly shifted away. Aiden frowned. Problem." The red one moved. "It is part of the test," Veshka said calmly. "Wait for it to return." Aiden stared at the moving platform. It drifted slowly across the chamber. "Nope," he said. Before Veshka could stop him, Aiden sprinted forward, jumped onto a lower ledge, climbed a support pillar, swung across a bar, and landed directly on the correct platform, skipping the entire pattern. The simulation froze. The systems flickered in confusion. Aiden gave a small bow. "Shortcut." Veshka looked almost offended. "That is not the intended solution." "But the goal was to get to the red platform, right?" "Yes, but you ignored the rules entirely." Aiden shrugged. "Hey, you said humans adapt." Veshka opened her mouth to argue, then closed it again. She studied him with a strange expression, as if she was realizing something important. "You break structure," she said slowly, "but you achieve results. Fascinating." Lunch break. Alien food problems. After hours of training, Aiden's stomach growled loudly. Veshka escorted him to the dining hall. It was quiet, with curved seats and glowing dishes. Food came in colorful forms: gels, cubes, strips, and liquids. Aiden picked up something purple. "Is this safe for humans?" Yes, Veshka replied. Mostly. Mostly? She took the food from him and replaced it with a softer-looking green cube. Eat this first. Aiden bit the cube. It tasted like minty noodles mixed with marshmallow. This is weird. It is a nutrient block designed for most species, including unpredictable ones. Aiden laughed. Did you just call me unpredictable to my face? Yes. He nodded. Fair. The third simulation. Crisis on the fleet. After eating, Veshka led him back to the hall for one last simulation of the day. This scenario will test your ability to remain calm under pressure. The simulation began with blaring alarms. The holographic ship shook violently. Sparks rained from ceiling panels. Crew members rushed through the halls, shouting warnings. Aiden shouted, "What's happening?" Multiple failures, Veshka explained. You must stabilize the situation. Aiden ran into the chaos. A holographic crew member yelled, "The coolant line is damaged." Aiden slid under the console and pressed a valve shut manually. Another shouted, "The navigation core is overheating." Aiden grabbed a coolant pack and slammed it into place. Then, the simulation threw a harder problem. 2 crew members were trapped behind a jammed door with smoke filling the corridor. Aiden didn't think he acted. He ripped off a wall panel, connected 2 exposed wires, and forced the door open. When the simulation ended, Veshka approached him slowly. You acted without hesitation, she said. Your solutions were unusual, but effective. Aiden wiped sweat from his forehead. That was intense. Veshka nodded. But you succeeded. Many trainees fail this simulation. Aiden smiled. Guess humans really are full of surprises. Veshka's realization. As they left the hall, Veshka walked silently beside him. She kept glancing at him, her silver eyes full of thought. At last she said, Lieutenant Reyes, today has changed my expectations. Oh? In a good way? In a surprising way, she said. You do not think as we do, but your instincts make you capable of solutions I cannot predict. Perhaps the High Council saw this. V-come. Aiden smirked. So, you believe in me now? Veshka paused, then gave a slow nod. I believe. You may be the partner I did not expect, but perhaps the one I needed. Aiden felt a proud warmth in his chest. Pairing season was only beginning. But already, the unlikely human was making an impact. The day of the official trials arrived faster than Aiden expected. One moment he was struggling with alien puzzles, and the next, he was standing with Veshka inside a massive docking bay on Station Qural. The station floated above a swirling blue nebula, shining like a giant silver crown in space. Ships from dozens of species arrived every hour, each carrying its selected pair for the trials. Aiden looked around in awe. Everywhere he turned, he saw cultures he had only read about. Tall, crystalline beings whose bodies chimed when they moved, short, furry diplomats with bright eyes, and elegant creatures with wings made of glowing energy. It felt like standing in the center of the galaxy's greatest meeting point. Veshka stood beside him, calm as ever. Do not stare too long, she advised. It marks you as inexperienced. I am inexperienced, Aiden whispered. Yes, she replied, but you do not need to advertise it. Aiden snorted. Noted. They walked forward toward the entrance to the grand hall, where the trials ceremony would begin. As they passed, whispers followed them. That is the human? I heard they act without planning. Unpredictable species. Dangerous but effective. Aiden pretended not to hear. But Veshka's crest twitched irritably. Ignore them, she said. Prejudgment is common among those who fear unfamiliar things. Aiden nodded. Guess humans get that a lot. Yes, she admitted. And you seem comfortable with it. Comes with the species, he said with a grin. The opening ceremony. Inside the grand hall, the ceiling stretched upward like a glowing sky. Thousands of spectators filled layered seats around the circular arena. Floating screens displayed the names of participating species. When Aiden spotted Terran human, Lieutenant Aiden Reyes, his stomach tightened. A loud voice echoed through the hall. "Welcome to the trials of pairing season." A parade of representatives stepped forward. Aiden walked beside Veshka toward the designated platform. His palms were sweaty, but he tried to look confident. Cameras swiveled toward them. Veshka held her head high with dignity, and Aiden copied her posture, hoping it would make him look less nervous. The high speaker addressed the audience. Each pair will face 3 trials: diplomacy, logic, and survival. Success requires unity, trust, and creativity. Aiden whispered to Veshka, "We've kinda done all these already." "Yes," she replied softly. "But not on this scale." The floor of the arena shimmered. The trials had begun. Trial 1. Zero-gravity diplomacy. The arena transformed into a floating negotiation chamber. Chairs, tables, and even microphones drifted in zero gravity. Representatives from 2 rival species, one tall and icy blue, the other short with armored shells, floated angrily at opposite ends. "They have been in conflict for a century," Veshka explained. "Your task is to calm them and guide discussion." Aiden grabbed a floating chair and pulled himself forward. "Okay. Let's all take a deep breath." "Ruth." One of the armored representatives shouted angrily in his language. The icy blue diplomat responded with a freezing blast of air that pushed him backward. Aiden blinked. "Right. No deep breaths." He looked around, thinking quickly. The floating furniture gave him an idea. He grabbed a drifting table and used it like a shield, gliding between the 2 delegates. "Stop. No more shouting until you listen to each other." They both looked surprised. Aiden continued, "Look, floating is weird and uncomfortable. None of us want to be here longer than necessary. So let's solve this." Veshka watched with wide eyes from the edge of the simulation. Aiden guided the delegates to speak one at a time, using simple points. He encouraged them to see what they had in common. Slowly, the shouting turned to tense discussion, then to thoughtful silence. After 10 long minutes, the rival species reached a temporary agreement. The simulation faded. Veshka stepped beside Aiden. "I do not understand how your methods work," she admitted. "But they do." Aiden laughed breathlessly. "Me neither." Trial 2. The Ancient Puzzle of Terion. The arena shifted again. This time, Aiden and Veshka found themselves inside an ancient stone chamber filled with glowing runes, shifting floors, and mysterious symbols floating in the air. Veshka approached the central panel. "This puzzle is from the Terion civilization. It requires perfect pattern recognition." She began analyzing the symbols. "We must sort the sequences by age. But the system resets if..." A loud click echoed. Aiden had tapped one of the runes. "Aiden," Veshka snapped. "Do not touch anything without understanding." "Sorry." It looked like a button. The chamber shook. Walls moved. Runes brightened. Veshka rubbed her forehead. "You activated the timed version of the puzzle." "Timed version?" Aiden repeated. "That sounds bad." "It is." The walls began closing in slowly. Veshka worked through the puzzle at high speed, whispering calculations. Aiden helped by spotting patterns she missed, even though he didn't fully understand the symbols. His instinct-based guesses, surprisingly, matched hidden logic paths. Finally, Veshka pressed the last symbol. The chamber froze. The walls moved back. Aiden exhaled. "That was close." Veshka stared at him. Aiden grinned. "Chaos is basically the human brand." Trial 3. The Living Biosphere. The final trial transported them into a massive alien environment inside the arena. Trees with glowing fruit, moving vines, strange insects, and floating spores filled the air. Aiden marveled. "This place is beautiful. It is also dangerous," Veshka warned. "Navigate through and reach the beacon." They began moving through the forest-like landscape. Aiden carefully stepped over roots, while Veshka expertly scanned their surroundings. Suddenly, a shimmering creature like a floating jellyfish with spikes shot toward them. Aiden dove aside and pulled Veshka with him. "Is that thing friendly?" "No." More creatures appeared, drawn to movement and sound. Veshka whispered urgently, "We must remain calm and avoid sudden motion." Aiden nodded. A moment later, his foot slipped on a glowing vine. "Ah!" The creatures turned toward them instantly. Veshka groaned. "Human." "Run?" Aiden suggested. "Yes, run." They sprinted through the biosphere. Aiden jumped over giant leaves, slid under branches, and dodged floating spores, while Veshka guided him with precise directions. The creatures chased them, glowing brighter with excitement. Finally, they reached the central beacon, and Aiden slammed his hand onto it. A bright flash filled the arena, signaling the end of the trial. The creatures vanished. The biosphere dissolved. Aiden fell on his back, laughing breathlessly. Veshka stood above him, catching her breath, something rare for a Korvathi. "Your chaos nearly killed us." "But it didn't." She sighed. "No, it did not." "John?" A small smile appeared on her face. "Well done, Lieutenant." The unexpected reaction. When the trials ended, representatives from other species whispered among themselves. Some looked impressed. Others looked nervous. Aiden caught snippets. The human adapts too fast. Unpredictable. Dangerous. Or maybe, exactly what the galaxy needs. Veshka stood tall beside him. For the first time, she looked proud. "You performed well, Aiden Reyes," she said. "Better than I expected." Aiden smiled. "Couldn't have done it without you." She paused, considering that. "Perhaps," she said softly, "we make a stronger team than I predicted." Aiden grinned. "Guess that's the point of pairing season, right?" Veshka nodded slowly. "Yes, and the trials are only the beginning." The trials ended with cheers, holographic fireworks, and thousands of watching eyes. But Aiden felt uneasy. Something in the air on Station Kural felt off. He saw tight whispers, secret glances, officials rushing in and out of doors. Even Veshka sensed it. "Something is wrong," she said quietly, as they walked down the glowing corridor toward the final ceremony. "The energy feels tense." Aiden nodded. "Yeah, like everyone's waiting for something to go wrong." "The final ceremony is the last step," Veshka said. "Each pair must declare whether they accept a long-term alliance. Your words will determine future relations." Aiden scratched the back of his neck. "No pressure, right?" "For once," Veshka said, "I believe you will handle it well." His brows rose in surprise. "You actually trust me now?" Veshka's silver eyes softened. "I trust your instincts, even if they confuse me." Aiden grinned. "I'll take it." The ceremony begins. The grand hall was even more crowded than before. Every seat was filled, and floating drones streamed the event across the galaxy. The air shimmered with excitement and expectation. Pairs from different species stood on raised platforms around a central stage. Aiden and Veshka stepped onto their own. Screens lit up with their names: Korvathi representative, scholar tactician, Veshka, human representative, Lieutenant Aiden Reyes. Aiden felt his heartbeat pounding in his ears. The high speaker stepped forward. "The trials of pairing season have concluded. Now, each pair must declare their future: temporary cooperation or long-term alliance. 1-1. Whispers spread through the crowd. Aiden leaned toward Veshka. Does everyone pick long-term? No, she whispered. Most fail the trials. Only a few reach this stage with strong unity. Aiden nodded slowly. Then we have to show them we're solid. Veshka hesitated. Aiden, I believe our partnership can change things. But... She stopped. A guard rushed into the hall and whispered urgently to the high speaker. The speaker's face darkened. Before anyone could react, the entire station shook violently. Boom. Lights flickered. The crowds gasped. Drones spiraled out of control. Aiden grabbed the side rail. What was that? Veshka narrowed her eyes. Not an accident. Sabotage. Another explosion sounded from the lower decks. The hall trembled again. Alarms blared. A voice rang out through the speakers. Security breach detected. Structural damage in sectors 3, 4, and 7. Panic spread across the hall. Aiden saw groups of nervous officials whispering, their faces pale. Somebody is trying to stop the ceremony. Sen. Veshka's eyes sharpened. A faction feared this outcome. They do not want humans gaining influence. Aiden frowned. So they attack the whole station? That's insane. Some species fear change more than destruction, she said. Another tremor shook the hall. A large support beam cracked above the crowd. Aiden shouted, Veshka, look out! He pushed her away as the beam fell. It crashed into the floor with a thunderous impact. Veshka stared at him, shocked. You saved me. Aiden shrugged breathlessly. That's what partners do. Stopping the collapse. The high speaker tried to calm the crowd. Remain where you are. Teams are repairing the structure. Do on. Do on. But Aiden saw the holographic display behind the stage. A red warning pulsed. Power core unstable. Aiden grabbed Veshka's arm. We need to fix that. You cannot, she began. Veshka, he said firmly. If the core blows, the whole station is done. She hesitated. Then she nodded. Follow me. They sprinted out of the hall and into a maintenance corridor. Smoke filled the air. Sparks dropped from ceiling panels. As they ran, Veshka tapped into the station's system using her wrist console. Saboteurs overloaded the power pathways, she explained. If not repaired, the core will collapse. Then we un-overload it, Aiden said. That is not the correct term. You know what I mean? The race against time. They reached the power chamber. It throbbed with unstable energy. Blue lightning arced across the room. The large core in the center glowed dangerously bright. Veshka moved to the control panel and began typing rapidly. The core is overheating. We need to close the conduction gates manually. Aiden looked at the 4 glowing gates on the upper platforms. Okay, I'll go. No, Veshka said. The gates are dangerous. Humans are... You're not doing this alone, Aiden interrupted. We're a team, right? Veshka stared at him for a moment. Then she nodded. Very well. We do this together. Aiden grinned. Now that's the spirit. They split up, each climbing onto separate platforms. Sparks shot from the machinery. Tremors shook the room. Aiden dodged a burst of energy. He reached the first gate and slammed the manual lever down. One down, he shouted. Veshka closed another gate. 2. Aiden reached the third, jumping across a damaged walkway. The floor gave way behind him, but he didn't look back. He pulled the lever. 3. Veshka ran toward the final gate. A sudden explosion from the wall knocked her down. Veshka! Aiden leaped down the platform, sliding beside her. She pushed herself up with difficulty. I can still reach it, she said. No, Aiden said firmly. Let me. He sprinted toward the last gate. The core pulsed violently. Aiden reached the final lever and pulled it with all his strength. The chamber went silent. The core dimmed to a stable glow. Veshka approached him, breathing hard. We Did it? Aiden laughed weakly. Told you we make a great team. The final declaration. Back in the grand hall, the panic had calmed. The high speaker announced the sabotage had been stopped. Aiden and Veshka stepped onto their platform again. Their clothes were dirty, their hair messy, but the entire hall watched them with awe. The speaker raised his hand. You two risked your lives for this station. Your unity is proven. Now came the question. Do you choose temporary cooperation or long-term alliance? Veshka looked at Aiden. Aiden looked at her. He smiled. Long-term. No hesitation. Veshka placed her hand over her chest, the Korvathi sign of commitment. Long-term alliance. The hall erupted with applause and cheers. Drones captured every angle. For the first time, humanity was officially bonded to the Korvathi. Aiden and Veshka stood side by side as the high speaker announced. Let this alliance mark a new era of unity, guided by courage, creativity, and the unexpected strength of humanity. Aiden whispered to Veshka, Guess we just made history. Veshka replied softly, Yes, together. And so, the human who no one expected, and the Korvathi who doubted him, became partners who changed the galaxy.